As a trans woman, Amani has already had to ask some big questions about gender. Not only what it means to be a man or a woman, or both or neither, but how those gender identities intersect with her other identities, like being Black, Christian, and a diehard Swiftie. Amani has already spent a lot of time discussing these big questions, both with her friends and with the kids at the LGBTQ+ youth centre where she volunteers on the weekends. And the more conversation she has, the more she realises all the ways the perception of gender impacts our lives. And while Amani's number one dream is to sing on stage with Taylor herself, she's also hoping to make the world a safer and more equal place for people of all genders. But gender is a large, complex topic that's evolving every day. And Amani knows that there's a lot more to learn if she wants to make the biggest impact. To help her along the way, she might consider majoring in gender studies. Hi, I'm Vanessa Hill, and welcome to Fast Guides, a study hall series that explores different college majors. In this episode, we'll discuss what you can look forward to studying for a gender studies degree. We all have different ways we characterise ourselves. Maybe you're like Amani and a die-hard Swiftie. Or maybe you think of yourself as a book nerd, or, like me, a croissant superfan. These are all different ways we identify ourselves. Our personal identity is made up of characteristics, relationships, and social roles that shape how we understand ourselves. And since our identities aren't limited to being one thing, there's a chance you identify as a Swiftie, book nerd, croissant stan, which is pretty amazing. Identities are complex, especially when it comes to gender, a construct based on the social, cultural, psychological, and emotional behaviours we associate with someone based on their biological sex at birth. But gender is way more complicated than that. Gender is self-perceived, which means that no matter someone's biological sex, they might identify as a man, a woman, something in between, both, or no gender at all. And things get even more complicated when we realise that our gender is shaped by lots of other factors, like our race, religion, ethnicity, sexuality, cultural heritage, the society we live in, and even the historical period we're born into, a concept known as intersectionality. This may sound complicated to understand, but a degree in gender studies can definitely help. Gender studies is an interdisciplinary field that examines all the complexities of gender and how they intersect with our other identity markers. As a gender studies major, you'll learn how all these different cultural, social, and political contexts shape how we perceive both gender and sexuality. Gender studies also explores how someone's perceived gender and sexuality gives them more social power, or takes that power away. Like, if you think it's a harmless coincidence that nearly every US president has been a cis straight white man, gender studies has you in for a rude awakening. If it sounds like gender studies covers a lot of ground, that's because it does. A degree in gender studies means you'll study a wide variety of subjects as part of your degree program, including politics, history, sociology, psychology, science, and even literature. That's because just like all the other identities that intersect with gender, tons of different disciplines intersect with gender studies too. But even though the ground covered in a gender studies major is huge, there is a method to the madness. Let's break down what you'll actually study while earning this degree. Early in your degree program, you'll take introductory courses that teach you the basics of gender and sexuality, including their definitions and nuances. Then you'll take classes in other subject areas that look specifically at how those disciplines shape and are shaped by ideas tied to gender and sexuality. For instance, you'll take lots of humanities courses that focus on how history, literature, and art both illustrate and shape how people express and experience gender. You'll also take social science courses in order to develop a deeper understanding of the ways that social institutions, like politics and economics, affect social perceptions of gender and sexuality. In these classes, you'll analyse different gender theories, like the writings of Adrienne Rich, Kimberly W. Crenshaw, and Judith Butler. You'll also evaluate scientific evidence, conduct research, write essays, and give presentations. As you progress through your degree, you'll get the chance to focus on specific questions about gender and society that pique your interest. For instance, you could take courses on gender and criminal justice, women and health, or gender and sports. The deeper you get into your degree, the more your courses will focus on how gender and sexuality connect with race, ethnicity, class, and other factors to shape our experiences with systems of power in society. Diving deeper into intersectionality is a huge part of gender studies, and it's one of the core ways that you'll learn to examine the role of gender in people's lives. Because gender studies intersects with so many other disciplines, there are lots of different people who might be interested in taking it on as a major. And you definitely don't have to identify as LGBTQ+ to get in on questioning these constructs, since gender is a part of all of our lives and identities. Gender studies is a great place for people who are passionate about feminism, LGBTQ+ studies, advocacy, and building a more empathetic, equitable, and safer society. But if you have any experience with trying to make the world a better place, you already know that it can be hard work. Gender studies programs tend to attract students who are ready to get in the trenches and do the hands-on work of fighting for understanding, equity, and rights in everyday life, like Amani. But there's also space in gender studies programs for people who aren't so sure about being on the front lines of advocacy. Gender studies can be another way to understand things like art, history, literature, or political science. Of course, a gender studies degree isn't a magic button you can press to immediately understand the complexities of the world around you. These courses require tons of reading, writing, and discussion. And since our understanding of gender is always evolving, the work of a gender studies major is never done. Not to mention that discussions around gender can get pretty sticky pretty quickly. Gender is social and political, which means people have really strong opinions about how we should think about and handle gender in society and culture. Sometimes gender studies get stereotyped as being anti-male or trying to force specific ideas about gender and sexuality onto the rest of society. And you might run into some people who don't think gender studies is a worthwhile field of study at all. To prepare yourself for uncomfortable conversations about your degree choice with a potential interviewer, or your great Uncle George, you can arm yourself with facts about your degree program, like that gender studies students develop creative, critical thinking and interpersonal skills that are crucial to advocating for everyone and solving problems in any career field. After all, remembering all the reasons why gender studies matters to you is the best way to brush off the haters. Of course, if you do end up deciding gender studies isn't right for you or your future goals, you can easily slide into a related major. You'll already have experience in a wide range of humanities and social science topics, so you can easily swap your major to English, history, psychology, or any other related field. But if you do decide to major in gender studies, getting to dip your toe in multiple disciplines and think critically about how they connect with gender is a major perk when it comes to life after graduation. Because gender and sexuality are a part of who we are and everything that we do, a gender studies degree prepares you for careers in many different fields. You could pursue a career in law, education, the arts, government, healthcare, nonprofits, counselling, or community service, like Amani. Some of these fields, like law or healthcare, require a graduate degree. Fortunately, all those critical thinking skills mean you'll be prepared to go to graduate school in just about any field, or step right into the professional world. Of course, since there are so many jobs available for someone with a degree in gender studies, the salary range can differ widely depending on what career you pick, as well as where you live. For instance, you could use what you learn about gender and identity to work in market research, which will earn you a median salary of around $68,000 in 2022. Or if you want to use your deep knowledge of the biological and psychological aspects of gender to help people be well, you could pursue work in mental health care. As of 2024, the average salary for therapists is also $68,000, and in 2022, the median national salary for licensed social workers was $55,000. One thing's for sure though, as a professional working with gender and sexuality, there will be moments when you'll be dealing with controversial topics and difficult issues. The great news is that a gender studies degree prepares you to keep your cool and help others cope in high-stress, emotionally charged situations on the job. Gender studies majors have the confidence to pursue a degree in an innovative field that's working to make society more equitable for people of all genders. By the time you graduate, you'll be ready to work in many different organizations, companies, and communities to help all kinds of people grow and thrive. And although a degree in gender studies won't get you on stage with T Swift, sorry Amani, it will prepare you to meet the challenges of the 21st century, make a real difference, and become a leader in any career field. If you want to investigate more degrees before you choose a major, check out our other videos in this playlist. To find out how to earn college credit with Study Hall, go to gostudyhall.com or click on the link here or in the description. And if you want to help us out, give this video a like and a comment to let us know how you chose your degree or what you wish you'd known before you started your degree. Thanks for watching.